Hey Whovians, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and yes, we now come to my third and final part review of Season 2 of Doctor Who. Yes, the last two remaining episodes for this season. Yep, and with what happened in the last episode, and with the Ronnie making her triumphant return, and this time we're dealing with two Ronnies because of the bi-generation thing, and with whatever it is that they're planning to do, and this has to do with the Doctor's Vindicator, which being his very own GPS, and, you know, the fact that they brought in Conrad and such, and just, yeah, because whatever it is that the Ronnie's about to do is obviously something not good. And the last two episodes for this season, well, they are a two-parter. And yeah, because this is the first time in a long time where, you know, we have a season finale of Doctor Who where, you know, things get epic and so on. And then it leads at the very end where we see the Doctor regenerating. And yes, and as I brought this up in my Part 1 review of Season 2, yeah, because, you know, I had already found out, and we were going to, of course, and because, you know, with Season 2 having wrapped up, you know, that, yeah, Season 2 being the last season where we would see Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th incarnation of the Doctor. Yeah. And like I also said, that this is the first time in a long time where we have the Doctor regenerating in a season finale, and not in, like, say, a Christmas special or anything. Just, yeah. And that's good to see. But, yeah. So, the last two episodes of Season 2. Yeah, I gotta say, you know, they weren't that bad. In my opinion, I thought that the two-parter finale of Season 2 of Doctor Who, I think, was pretty well executed, with the last two episodes' storylines, and of course they're connected, and some familiar faces that we had seen earlier in this season and in the last season of Doctor Who, and some more surprising twists and such. Just, yeah, it was really good. And maybe the same goes for some of you. Any of you that, like me, have been enjoying this new era of Doctor Who, and with, you know, the first two seasons of Doctor Who, starting with the 15th incarnation. But yeah, just overall, I quite enjoyed these last two episodes, with what goes down, the Doctor coming face-to-face with Ronnie after all these years, and with what the Ronnie has in store, and the Doctor, and along with his two companions, Ruby, Belinda, as well as the unit, doing whatever it takes to stop at nothing with what goes down in these last two episodes. Especially in the very last one, because in episode 7, because the Ronnie having done something where, the Doctor, Belinda, and the members of UNIT, they're not their normal selves, but yeah, until I get into the episode. But again, overall, episodes 7 and 8 of Season 2 of Doctor Who, the last two episodes, they were pretty good. I enjoyed them. Alright, so now, as always, reading the descriptions / the story, and of course, starting with episode 7, which being Wish World, description / the story. Traps are sprung and old enemies unite as the Doctor and Belinda finally arrive home to find a very different world. Can the Doctor see the truth before midnight arrives? Yeah, especially because, well, the fact that this building up to May the 24th, and with what is going to happen on the 24th. So, yeah. Alright, so getting into the second to last episode of Doctor Who itself, Wish World. Well, because we start off where, yeah, because, you know, we, of course, see the Ronnie, and it's the current Ronnie, and, you know, the current Ronnie being played by Archie Panjabi, again, if I'm getting the last name right or wrong, you know me sometimes. We see her in the 19th century, stealing this baby from this family, and this baby, whom is the seventh child, and yeah, because the baby's name that Ronnie gives, and not the baby's parents, is Desiderome, if I'm getting the name right. Yeah, that's the name of the baby, and whom was born the seventh son of Odo Zufal. Yeah, himself the seventh son of yet another seventh son. Okay, and turns out that the seventh son is actually a very powerful god. He's the most powerful god of the Pantheon, and he's basically, the baby is the god of wishes, and every time, one of these characters that is holding the baby in their hands, they kiss the baby on the forehead, and they blow what they wished. And yeah, because Ronnie disposing the baby's parents and, the six siblings. Yeah, because turning the mother into flowers, turning the father into an owl, and the six children into ducks. Jeez Louise. And yeah, because, well, obviously, the Ronnie using the baby, the god of wishes, for evil doings, and when it would lead to, say, with Conrad involved and such, yeah, and right after that, with Ronnie taking the baby with her, well, then we see something unexpectedly happen where, yeah, we see the Doctor and Belinda safe at home. However, what happens is that they're apparently married, and they have a daughter of their own, and it's the child whom we saw in episode 5, yeah, that Belinda saw very briefly right outside of the barber shop, named Poppy. Yeah, well, that explains it, because, yeah, turns out that Poppy is the child of the Doctor and Belinda. And yeah, the Doctor and Belinda, being unaware of what's happened, and they're basically acting like normal citizens on Earth. And yeah, that's what happens to everybody else that we see on Earth, and especially in England, because from those at UNIT and, some others, like, they're acting like normal people and such. However, yeah, if that's not enough, more changes that have happened to the Earth and are just very bizarre, and, well, clearly, because this is the doing of the Ronnie. And, yeah, Conrad also, this is his doing as well. Well, basically, because with capturing the God of Wishes, the baby, well, with the Ronnie capturing the baby, Conrad used the baby, making wishes to make a world of his own, and yeah, thus hence the title, where, yeah, because the Wish World, yeah, a world of Conrad's own, and how he has made this world, and with, what these people are like and such, yeah, not to mention that, Melody, whom, once again, returns, and, of course, Melanie, sorry, did I say Melody? My bad. Melanie Bush, once again, Bonnie Landford, she's a next-door neighbor of the Doctor and Belinda, and the Doctor going by John Smith. Nice callback, because, yeah, that was a name that the Doctor went by for a while, especially since, when he first encountered Martha, he went by Smith, so, yeah, nice that they brought that name back for the Doctor. And seeing the Doctor go to work at a tower building, which being the unit, and it's just like a normal office building, and yeah, like seeing the members of the unit from Kate and Christopher, with the exception of, like, say, Shirley, because apparently, yeah, Shirley is poor. But also, we do see Ruby at one point, where she actually meets with the Doctor and Belinda right at their house, and, Ruby, she's really the only one that seems to remember who she really is, and knows that something's not right with what's going on Earth, and yeah, asking if he's the Doctor and so on, but, yeah, they think that she's gone mad or something and full of doubts, just, yeah. And that's a big thing with doubts in this episode, and, But yeah, more on that as I continue with this, talking about this episode. But also, Conrad, yeah, because of course Conrad coming back, and apparently, Conrad, he's all around the globe, technically, like broadcasting and such, and telling constant stories about the Doctor, and little does the Doctor know that he is the Doctor. Just, yeah. Conrad sharing these stories about the Doctor and the companions, and he's like the god of this world. And is it me, or if you felt the same way too, where I at one point, not fully, I was just for one moment getting a bit of Truman Show vibes. If you think about it, just, I mean, I wouldn't say, there's no, like, Truman Show vibes going on, but just some, yeah. I'm just simply saying, because, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, because with, some of these characters in this episode acting a bit strange and odd, and when some stuff occurs to them that something's off and such, just, yeah, anyways. And also, what else is going on in the Wish world? Well, we see something in the sky, and, everybody's aware that they're there. These bone beasts, like, yeah, where the heck did these come from, and what are they doing here? Because, yeah, the bone beasts, they're these species of giant skeletal creatures, and they live somewhere else, but, yeah, with their presence being on Earth, interesting. Well, and again, this being linked with the Ronnie's doing. And yeah, to go ahead and talk more about the Ronnie, and, well, the two Ronnies, that is, because, because this, like, web station or something, and, yeah, it's like over almost all of England, and very close to the unit building, and that's where the Ronnies reside, and as well as Conrad, because, yeah, seeing him, doing his duty, with broadcasting himself on TV, and with all the constant stories he tells, and the God of Wishes, the baby, is right there with him in that room, yeah, in his baby crib. And also, at one point, the baby lets out a giggle that's the exact same giggle as the toy maker, like, you've heard the giggle, and when I was a bit surprised, and I was saying to myself, toy maker? Like, I don't know, like, maybe it's not really a baby version of the toy makers, beats me, but, yeah. But, I mean, they've established it's the God of Wishes, but, I mean, who knows, really, because, maybe not really, it's not really the baby version of the toy maker, and because he has the giggle, just pure coincidence having the giggle? I don't know, but anyways. And by the way, because, more characters that we see on the Ronnie's very own space station, I guess you could say, well, if I never do so, I'll put the name of it in the text, because, yeah, I might as well, so, the name of their base, hovering above most of England is, yeah, there's a text. We see some of the drones that we saw in the previous episode, in the interstellar contest, in that space station. Yeah, they're there. Seems as though that the two Ronnies managed to take some of the drones with them as their very own robotic guards. There's also a couple of aliens that we see. They're called the Seekers, yeah. And by the way, because some of the drone guards, they were played by Callum Owen, Harrison Pittard, if I'm getting that right, Adam Bentley, Matthew Domain, and the Seekers, they were played by Elsa Moody, Megan Davies, Rosie Gibson, and Alki Schwartz. I hope I got that right, but just, yeah. And also, coming back to Ruby, because she does at one point come face-to-face with, whom is not present at the unit building, Shirley. Yeah, again, Shirley is homeless, and, Ruby and Shirley crossing paths, and Ruby is starting to, remembers who Shirley is, and, Shirley and Ruby, they interact with each other, and we see where Ruby, we see where Shirley, Ruby sees where Shirley currently resides, this like resident camp where, like, yeah, this location where these people who are homeless, they camp and they're all together, and yeah, these two camp residents being played by Steph Bailey Scott and Daniel Mahoney. Yeah, I got that right. Yeah, and because they're sharing about, you know, what's been going on with them, and the fact that Ruby and Shirley and the others at this camp location, well, they do not like Conrad at all, and they come together just planning to take down Conrad and so on. Yeah. And also, for the Doctor and Belinda, because some things start to happen to them where a few times they say some certain things that kind of trigger others that are around him. Like, why are you saying that? And are you mad? Just like, yeah. And a good chunk of times when stuff like that happens, and with the whole thing of doubts, a slip happens. Basically, these glass cups, you know, we don't see it at first, but we hear a crash. And yeah, these glass cups that have fallen and they've broken on the floor, just, yeah, it happens quite a lot. And it isn't until very later that day, / in the evening, where the Doctor, going by John Smith, starts to see something on the TV at one point. He sees a quick glimpse of his granddaughter, Susan. Yeah, we get a quick appearance of Susan just very quickly. And then at one point, Rogue from season 1, remember him? He makes a comeback, sending a message to the Doctor, basically informing him, most notably, that about this has to do with the cups, and telling them that something to do with the tables. You know, tables can't do nothing. Yeah, and how he specifically puts at it. And also, before Rogue's transmission ends, Rogue says to the Doctor that he misses him very much and how much he loves him. Yeah, because if you remember in season 1, you know, just, yeah. And Belinda coming in and seeing what's going on with her hubby, technically, because they're technically married, and, well, because Smith mentioning about what he saw on TV and a man that popped up and saying that he liked him very much, yeah, Belinda finds her hubby going mad and such, and calls in the police to handle the situation with Smith, because anybody who starts to have doubts and so on, they would get in trouble for this, and they would be arrested. Yeah, it's crazy. And that's what unfortunately happens to the Doctor, Smith. But then it also happens to Belinda, because Belinda was going through the same thing too, because this had to do with her daughter Poppy, and Belinda being around, say, her mother and grandmother, which, yeah, because we see her family make an appearance in this, and yeah, because seeing her mother, which being Lakshmi Chandra, yeah, being played by Nila Alia, and we also have Devika Abu being played by Josephine Welcome. I didn't quite fully know that, because people can have last names Welcome. But yeah, so seeing them finally, and yeah, because yeah, just like it's unfortunate for what happens to each of them, and when each of them are taken away and such, just, yeah. But anyways, so yeah, and, well, Mrs. Flood being there, you know, doing her duty, and by taking in Belinda and such, just, golly. Well, I mean, at least Poppy will be safe and sound with her grandmother, but yeah. Anyways, so yeah. Then Smith and Belinda, they're taken to the tower, you know, where the Ronnies reside, and yeah. And more on the Ronnies because, yeah, the Vindicator, we see them using it because, yeah, it's been, like, attached to, like, this clock and such, and, yeah, the time is ticking, and, well, May the 24th is almost around the corner in this episode. The big event, you know? But anyways, also, oh yeah, because the God of Wishes, parents, can't forget to mention them, because yeah, Odo Zufall, as mentioned earlier, and his wife, Violet. Odo being played by Attila Agnesi, I hope I'm getting that right, and Violet being played by Lenny Adams. Yeah. But yeah, anyways, so as I was saying, Smith and Belinda being brought in, coming face to face with the Ronnies. Meanwhile, Ruby, and along with Shirley and one other person from the camp, you know, about to make their way to try and, you know, come face to face with Conrad, and trying to hide from the police / the security, and yeah, and also because with what goes on with the Ronnies interacting with Smith and Belinda, well, this is where the Ronnies, and the main Ronnie that is trying to get the Doctor to remember who he is, and, you know, like, most notably for him to remember who she is, and that they've met before, they have quite a history, and, well, the fact because they're both Time Lords, you know, and most notably because the Ronnie's a time lady, but still, you know. And some other mentionings that she makes to the Doctor, and the Doctor is just like, ugh, because he can't handle this. And he's getting there, and the same goes for Belinda. They're slowly but surely getting there, remembering who they are, until at the very end, like at the last minute, yeah, the Doctor's starting to remember who he is, and when Ronnie shows the Doctor what she's going to do, basically, with using the Vindicator, and, you know, there's no sign of the TARDIS, but obviously, yeah, the Ronnies are, you know, holding the TARDIS hostage, and they're doing something with it. We don't know yet. But, basically, with having used the God of Wishes, the Vindicator, bringing in Conrad, well, Conrad using the God of Wishes to make a wish of, you know, a wish world of his very own, just, yeah, well, just basically, point being, the Ronnie is planning to awaken Omega, the first ever Time Lord, an ancient Time Lord, and Omega means trouble, yeah, and is basically going to rip the world apart, because that's what happens, and it's starting to rip apart, and we find out, and to go ahead and mention this, and because it is mentioned most notably in the next episode, that the Ronnie is going to make a new Gallifrey, and even when trying to get the Doctor to join her side, well, obviously the Doctor is not going to join her side, but just, it's maddening, it's crazy what the Ronnie's going to do. And I think that, yeah, with the return of the Ronnie, she's not lost her touch, being a psychotic time lady, that's for sure. But, yeah, because with what she's going to do this time, after all these years, what she's plotting to do next, yeah, it's crazy. So, anyways. But, and like I said, up to the very last minute the Doctor starts to remember who he is, even getting visions of his past incarnations, and up to the last one, you know, the 14th incarnation. Even the Fugitive Doctor's in there too, as well as the War Doctor, John Hurt. Nice. Because, you know, I feel like, I'll go ahead and mention this, now that I'm thinking of it. It's always a bugger sometimes where the War Doctor and the Fugitive Doctor would sometimes be left off. You know what I mean? But I think as of now, and because of this, no, because they are the Doctor. Even though those are two faces that the Doctor, you know, most notably the War Doctor, doesn't want to remember that much of. Just, you get what I'm saying. But yeah, it's good to see that, yeah, that, you know, nowadays, with the War Doctor and the Fugitive Doctor existing, you know, they're not left out, because they are other incarnations of the Doctor, him/herself. Anyways, but yeah, the Doctor remembering who he is, but by that point it's too late, and the Ronnie was showing the Doctor outside of a balcony, and the Ronnie went back inside, locked up the doors, and now the Doctor's stuck out there, and the Ronnie's setting off these explosions outside, you know, destroying part of the balcony, and yeah, the Doctor falling to his doom, just, yeah. And also mentioning that his daughter, Poppy, does exist, because Poppy, of course, having a huge part of this storyline. So yeah, and yeah, seeing all of the characters falling to their doom, and then seeing this outside, the world, the Earth ripping apart, just, God. But then, of course, it ends off on a cliffhanger, to be continued. So yeah, well, of course, for me, now having watched these episodes, and I, of course, went straight to the next episode. Yeah. But yeah, just overall, episode 7, the second to last episode of season 2 of Doctor Who, Wish World. It was another pretty good episode, and yeah, this being the first, episode of the finale of season 2, with what this had to offer so far, this would be just the beginning of what the Doctor and everybody else would find themselves into in the hands of the Rani, and with the Rani, Conrad, the God of Wishes, being under the hostages of Conrad and the Ranis, and just, yeah, the Rani planning to awaken the Omega. It's crazy, but awesome, just, yeah. I mean, of course, we know, with all that's happening, of course, the Doctor always finding a way to stop evil, so yeah. And of course, being in the next episode. But yeah, again, overall, Wish World was a pretty good episode, another pretty good episode, and yeah, this being the second to last episode and the part 1 finale of season 2, definitely. By the way, Wish World, it did premiere on May the 24th. If it was not obvious that it would, just, yeah. Anyways, alright. No time to waste. Now let's dive right into the last episode of Season 2, Episode 8, The Reality War. Description / the story. Battle rages across the skies as the unholy Trinity unleash, if I got that one word right, their deadly abomination. Yeah. The Doctor, Belinda, and Ruby have to risk everything in the quest to save one innocent life. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? Alright, so, well, where we last left off, the Doctor was falling to his doom. However, someone manages to come in at the right time to save him, and that being Anita. Yeah, Anita Ben is back, and Anita, of course, once again being played by Steph D. Wally, whom we first saw in the last Doctor Who Christmas special, Joy to the World, working at that hotel, and eventually we see that Anita is now working at the Time Hotel, and, well, by saving the Doctor, and of course the Ranis, detecting this magical door that the Doctor went through, and yeah, it's a nice reunion where, yeah, the Doctor and Anita have reunited, and, well, with everybody else that was, about to fall to their doom, because Earth tearing apart on the 24th, well, everything reverses back, where, yeah, it didn't happen, and they're back to where they started on the 23rd and such, yeah, from Ruby and Belinda, and this time Belinda waking up in bed, but not with Smith, yeah, and, well, we also find out with Anita that she's expecting a baby boy with, her husband, Ricardo, yeah, so we know whom the father is of Anita's baby. Also, Anita, she had been looking for the Doctor on her days off, when she was off work and such. Going through the different doors, trying to look for the Doctor, and which she did a good chunk of times. And yeah, it's really cool because she, saw and encountered the 11th incarnation, Matt Smith, and at one point encountered and saw the 3rd incarnation of the Doctor, John Perriott, and even, in where we see the 3rd Doctor being held hostage by the Daleks, and one Dalek that passes by, it was obviously a new Dalek for that shot where it passes by, and when we see Anita, yeah, so you get what I'm saying, just, yeah. And when Anita did find the current Doctor, the 15th incarnation that is, well, she happened to see the Doctor, dancing with Rogue, and could sense / indicate that, yeah, because a bit of romance between them, and, yeah. it's quite sad for Anita, because she was starting to like the Doctor. But that's when, after that, she would find Ricardo, and from there on. So, yeah. I mean, at least, she still found a good man in her life, and thus, she will have a baby with him. But yeah, so Anita, it's a good thing that Anita's back, and talk about perfect timing, because, man, with what happens next, and with Anita's help, and because of the Time Hotel opening the various doors, yeah, that definitely comes in handy. So yeah, because with Anita stepping in again, well, the Doctor discovering this and sharing this with Anita, that with May the 24th being repeated so much, well, because that's basically the Ronnie's way of, the world and such, and with that getting thinner and thinner and thinner, up until when it comes to a certain point that, yes, the Ronnie can now summon and rise the Omega, so, yeah. But then, with the help of Anita, and with the doors at the Time Hotel, well, this leads to where the Doctor finds himself back at the house that, he and Belinda live in with their daughter Poppy, and, yeah, the Doctor, letting Belinda know that he's home, and, well, this is where he changes, some wardrobe, where we see him in this blue skirt, like, you know what I'm talking about, just, yeah, and, well, by showing off to Belinda and Poppy, bringing them into the Time Hotel, and this is where they, Belinda most notably starts to remember, and so on, and what they do next, and with the doors to the Time Hotel, and with Anita, well, the Doctor making his way to Unit, appearing as what he wears, and to get Kate and all of the others in the Unit to remember who they are, and by the various doors of the Time Hotel being opened, thanks to Anita, yeah, they start to remember. We even see the Vlinks coming back, as well as Rose Noble. Yep, Rose Noble's back, and Rose, once again, being played by Yasmin Finney. Rose, the daughter of Donna Noble. Yeah, because, if you recall, Rose became a part of the Unit. Well, and the same goes for her mother, because in the 3rd anniversary special, because, Donna asked Kate, what it would be like to work for Unit and how much money, just, it was pretty funny. Yeah. Hey, I'd have no problem working for the Unit, just, yeah, who wouldn't? Anyways. So yeah. And yeah, the reason Rose was absent, well, because that was obviously Conrad's doing. A perfect world and such. Like, give me a break, and with Conrad, just, yeah. Anyways, and yeah, everybody else from, Ruby, but yeah, she was starting to remember some in the last episode, but yeah, now fully she does, as well as Shirley and Melanie, because yeah, where they're at, they start to make their way back to Unit, and everyone's reunited, and thus them realizing what they're up against, and when, like, at one point seen, well, of course, the bone beasts, and the Doctor describing about the bone beasts, and also, of course, mentioning / bringing up what they're dealing with, which, of course, being the Ronnie, and, well, the Ronnie, of course, realizing what has just happened, and the current Ronnie herself making an appearance right in front of Unit and to everyone else, and, It's nice that, for the Ronnie and the Doctor, they seem to get along just a little bit, and they're laughing, but of course, them still being enemies, just, yeah. At least, it's kind of, don't you think it's kind of nice at times where, the good guy and the bad guy could interact and get along some, but of course they know they're enemies, and, like, the next time they would see each other, they'd be kicking their butts, just, you get my point. Oh, and by the way, because with, Melanie, Ruby, and Shirley making their way back to Unit, well, because, yeah, when they started to remember, well, that's because, apparently they have these chips inside their necks, and when they started to beep, that's when they remembered, so, yeah, couldn't forget to mention that, so. Anyway, so, and like I said, the Ronnie showing herself, and by the way, I cannot forget to mention this because, if you know, you hardcore Whovians like me, well, because Melanie and the Ronnie have crossed paths before, if you recall. in the early days of Doctor Who, most notably with, like, say, the 6th and 7th incarnations of the Doctor. And yeah, because, like, Melanie, you know, furious that the Ronnie has returned, and their interactions are just great, you know. Some of the villains that remember and have interacted with certain companions of the Doctor before. Yeah, love that. Like, I can think of most notably in Season 4 of Doctor Who, with the 10th incarnation, because, yeah, the Season 4 finale where the Daleks stole Earth and Davros made his comeback, yeah, because Davros and Sarah Jane Smith reuniting a little, and yeah, because Davros remembering Sarah Jane. So, yeah, that being a good example right there, that's amazing, because, yeah, again, just some companions of the Doctor who remember some of the Doctor's arch enemies, or, like, you know, some of the companions that remember the Master. Yeah, like that too. So, anyways. But yeah, so that was great because, you know, seeing the Ronnie and Melanie interact some, and also when it's revealed, most notably to Ruby, that, you know, with Mrs. Flood, when Mrs. Flood pops in very briefly, and yeah, because Ruby and the others now seeing that Mrs. Flood is the Ronnie. In fact, she was the Ronnie before this Ronnie, and because, well, they bi-generated. Yeah. And with what the Ronnie is plotting to do, well, because, with the mentioning of the Omega and such, and the fact that Omega, according to the Ronnie, was banished to the Underverse. Yeah. And it's basically the Toymaker's domain as a hollow beneath the Underverse, blaming himself for having let the TARDIS fall into this other... Yeah, so... Yeah, but that's where, like, say, the Omega was exiled/banished to, and, well, again, thus the Ronnie attempting to rise the Omega once again, and like I said, the Ronnie attempting to make a new Gallifrey, and also Poppy being a part of this as well, because, well, the fact that Poppy is the daughter of the Doctor, she is a Time Lord, but at the same time, she is also human. Poppy is half Time Lord, half human, and yeah, the fact that Poppy is special and has a gift and so on, just, yeah. And if anything's to happen with the resurrection of the Omega and, you know, taking the Omega out of the Underverse, you know, Under-Universe, my bad. I mean, I think they do say Underverse, but still. My point being is that, yeah, you know, with the Ronnie's plan proceeding, then at a certain point, this would lead to Poppy not existing. So, yeah. But, yeah, the more interactions that Poppy, the Doctor, the Ronnie, and the others have and such, and then, like, the Doctor telling the Ronnie, of course, that he will do anything to stop her and such. Even, yeah, trying to use his sonic screwdriver, and when the Ronnie uses her own, too, causing his screwdriver to be, you know, glitched and such, you know, sparkle. But, yeah. And the Ronnie, vanishes, and, yeah, so it's up to the Doctor and the others to do whatever it takes to, you know, take on the Ronnie. Meanwhile, at one point earlier, also, because forgot to mention her too, because being a part of the unit as well, and that being, oh yeah, because, what's-her-face, it's a part of the unit, yeah, because, I mean, yeah, Susan, yeah, that's right, Susan, yeah. Susan Triad, once again being played by Susan Twist. Well, yeah, because thanks to Susan, because at one point she helps out the Doctor and Belinda have this special room for Poppy and Belinda to be in, to be protected and such, most notably Poppy, this Zero Room. So possibly the Zero Room can help Poppy, especially if anything's to happen, if, you know, any chance that she might not exist and vanish, well, you know, no reason for that to happen as long as being safe and contaminated in the Zero Room. So, yeah, and that's what happens, because even when the Doctor warns Belinda that their child will be in danger, and thus making their way underground, the unit building, going in the Zero Room, and, well, hopefully Poppy will make it through all this. once the Doctor is finished taking care and defeating the Rani and with the Omega as well. Okay, so to speed things up some, what happens next? Well, the Rani causes the bone creatures to go and attack those at the unit, and then all of those a part of the unit start to go into battle, and literally, like, turns out, I guess, the unit tower is also technically a ship, because there's literally a freaking steering wheel that Kate uses, and also by activating the blaster cannons to fire upon the bone creatures, just, yeah. Also, with the help of Susan, hooking up Ruby with this contraption to send herself to go to Conrad, because, yeah, it's up to Ruby to confront Conrad and to get to him and such, you know, go through him and, you know, try to get him to snap out of it and so on, you know, with what Ruby does. And as for the Doctor, well, he managed to, and when, like, say, he pointed his screwdriver at Rani and Rani pointed her screwdriver, he managed to get through Rani's technology to basically activate this hovering contraption that Rani used that we saw in the previous episode. Yeah, and that's what happens. It comes to the Doctor, and thus he's making his way to confront the Rani once again and try to take her down and such. And yeah, so a lot of things happening between Ruby confronting Conrad, the Doctor confronting the two Ranis, and with the unit going into battle to stop the bone creatures. Yeah. And with the addition, of course, of Belinda and Poppy being safe and sound in the Zero Room. But yeah, so, Ruby confronting Conrad. Well, because, with the mention and callback to, you know, the one episode where, yeah, we first got Conrad and, you know, a bit of romance that happened between Conrad and Ruby. Ruby telling Conrad that those were real. Them being happy and sweet together did happen. And also, Ruby mentions to Conrad that not once did he mention to her about his father. That's very true. It didn't occur to us until now. Yeah, we knew about his mother's son, but never about his father. And yeah, just overall, because Ruby trying to get through to Conrad, and, you know, there can be some good in him. Meanwhile, the Doctor confronting the Ranis, and the Rani makes a good point where, yeah, because the Doctor just doing his usual, like, dialogue and speech, and, you know, when it comes to him facing his enemies. Yeah, because that's what he usually does. But then the time comes for Omega to be risen, and yeah, because we see the Omega making his way through a portal and such, and yeah, and Omega being voiced by good old Nick Briggs. Well, of course who else would it be? Nick Briggs, because he's usually the voice of a good chunk of these aliens/monsters of Doctor Who. Well, most notably, the Daleks and the Cybermen, but yeah, but more than just them. And yeah, the appearance of the Omega, man, because, like, this ancient bone-looking creature, and he's been down in the Under-Universe for a long time, and, well, things escalate where the Omega grabs the current Rani and eats her alive! So much for her, and yeah, because the Rani, after all that time, the Rani was trying to bring back the Omega, and in return, the Omega just eats her. But obviously, this isn't going to be the last time we see the Rani. And as for the previous Rani, going by Mrs. Flood, well, she managed to get her hands on this time bracelet that the current Rani used. And yeah, because this time bracelet that the Rani had, where, you know, her managing to survive Gallifrey, and obviously with the Time War, and making her way to Earth, and yeah, with the time bracelet, you know, having her own piece of time technology, yeah, so now Mrs. Flood has it, and yeah, she disappears, and that's the last we see of her. For now. Yeah, of course this isn't the last we're going to see of the Rani, and who knows, because, maybe possibly because the current Rani, but, you know, anyways. So yeah, now, because with both Ranis gone, now it comes down to Omega and the Doctor. So what happens next? Well, the Doctor managing to defeat Omega by using the Vindicator. And I guess you could say, like, I don't know, because at least, like, when doing a bit of a rewatch of this episode, through reactions to this, the Whovians doing reactions, like one of them mentioning Ghostbusters, and I guess so, because yeah, that's kind of like what the Doctor's doing, shooting the Vindicator right at Omega. And as for Ruby confronting Conrad, well, by using the God of Wishes, well, wishing for Conrad to be happy, to have a happy life, and that's what happens. With that, the Doctor defeating Omega. Once all that's taken care of, well, everything starts to turn back to normal. Yes, the bone creatures disappearing, that giant tower that the Ronnies resided in vanishing, and it turns back into the TARDIS. So that's where the TARDIS was at. Yeah, and with the Ronnies using the TARDIS. And Ruby finding herself back in the TARDIS with the baby, the God of Wishes, and yeah, all has been taken care of, and yep, with what the Ronnie was doing, it's done for, defeated, yes. Good to see. And, well, not to mention that when checking to see in the Zero Room if, yeah, not just Belinda, but if Poppy's okay too. Poppy's okay as well, yeah. Poppy made it through. Everybody, it's great to see everybody cheering and applauding for that. And by the way, because I didn't talk about Anita that much because, by this point, because, well, Anita basically had to keep one door open from the Time Hotel, because with it not being kept open, then, yeah, you get the point. But yeah, all has ended well, everything's good now. And, well, the Doctor, Belinda, Ruby, and Poppy finding themselves in the TARDIS. They brought the baby crib in the TARDIS. But then Ruby starts to notice something, and us, the audience, as well, where at one point Belinda had taken off Poppy's baby jacket and by, I guess, like folding it, but then it starts to shrink, and with Belinda and the Doctor just, folding it some, and then it just disappears. And then Ruby noticing that Poppy's missing. Where did she go? After all that, and now she's vanished? And when Ruby mentions to them about Poppy, they don't know whom Ruby's talking about. What's happened all of a sudden? And keep in mind, because the final episode of Season 2 is not finished yet, because we still have a good majority of time left in this episode, and yet after the evilness was defeated, yeah, because what happens next? Well, because again, Poppy now has disappeared, and, well, Ruby being the only one that knows who Poppy is. Nobody else knows who Poppy is. And, yeah, because even when, like, say, at Unit, Ruby's trying to ask them if they know whom Poppy is. Kate doesn't know, Shirley doesn't know, Rose doesn't know, not even the Vlinks doesn't know about Poppy being present and such. But besides from that, also, one moment at Unit where, yeah, because Anita says goodbye, and, well, and I was thinking, and, yeah, I had a feeling that this would happen, where Kate offered Anita a position in the unit. Anita was flattered by it, but she has to stick with the Time Hotel. But yeah, and hopefully, yeah, this wouldn't be the last we would see of Anita, because Anita is a pretty good character. So yeah, for now, we say goodbye to Anita, and yeah, so it was great to see Anita come back and how she would be a good helping hand in this situation. Oh, and also, Anita mentioned to the Doctor that her boss, said hi and such, and who's the boss exactly? But anyways, so back to where I was with Ruby being the only one that knows about Poppy, nobody else, and even asking if everything is back to normal, the world itself. Well, Susan, Kate, they do mention, and Shirley, about some things that seem okay, like, like most notably, like, say, Teal being more blue, and Ernest Borgnine. I'm getting the last name right or wrong. You know what I'm talking about. I said Ernest. Apparently, yeah, Ernest is alive and such. And as for Conrad, well, thanks to Melanie, who is off base somewhere, I presume, or I don't know, I think she is still in the unit building, but just, yeah, somewhere else in the building. Basically reporting that Conrad is doing pretty well. He's now a chef, and nobody remembers the Conrad that we first knew, where he was an asshole and so on. No, that Conrad is no more. This is a new Conrad, where he has a happy life, he's a well-respected guy and a good chef, just, yeah. Good for Conrad, because, yeah, Ruby's wish did work for Conrad to have a happy life, and, yeah. Nice to see that Conrad became a much better man, and technically redeemed, but just, not the Conrad that he once was, and, things changed for Conrad. Just, you get the point. So, yeah, because still, with the Doctor, Belinda, and the others not knowing that Poppy exists and telling Ruby that there is no Poppy, but to Ruby, there is, and we know this too, the audience. And, even Ruby thinking that maybe Poppy is a glitch to her. But when Ruby then mentions to the Doctor that, the same thing happened to, say, her and Belinda, where the Doctor did save their lives. And then, yeah, when Kate brings up that, the Doctor has saved all lives, and, most notably with Ruby and Belinda, they almost ceased to exist. But when the Doctor stepped in, yeah, he saved them, and they, them still existing. So, yeah. And, oh, that was a great moment where, because he had saved all of their lives, and Kate mentioning it's like, we're all your children. Oh, that was really good right there. And yeah, that's when now it occurs to the Doctor and Belinda that, yeah, Poppy does exist. And the Doctor promising Belinda he will do whatever it takes, he'll stop at nothing to save their daughter. And thus, that's what he's about to do. Kate and the others of UNIT offer to help the Doctor, but the Doctor tells them that it's just gotta be him that does this, because, yeah, him being the last of the Time Lords, and he's basically gonna sacrifice himself to bring back Poppy and really restore everything. Yeah. So thus, this is where, yeah, this would be the beginning where the Doctor is going to sacrifice himself, and which would lead to him soon regenerating. Yeah, so that's what happens. At least, it's like, it's not him, like, say, having been shot or anything like that. Good thing it didn't happen early on when he came face-to-face with the Ronnies and so on. Yeah, that doesn't happen. This time, he's sacrificing himself. And, well, technically, this isn't the first time he's done something like this. And if you know, you know. And all you hardcore Whovians. But yeah, so that's what the Doctor does. He has to do this on his own. And, by the way, this would technically, for now, be the last time we see all of those characters in the unit, at least for now. Like, surely this wouldn't be the last time we would see Ruby, and now that Ruby's a part of UNIT. Not to mention, almost forgot to mention this, where the God of Wishes was given to, Ruby passed on the God of Wishes to her adoptive mother, because, yeah, taking in another, child for fostering and such, and yeah, that was good right there for Ruby, just... yeah. So, the Doctor proceeding to make his ultimate sacrifice to restore everything and to bring Poppy back. And as I recall, he mentions that he doesn't really like his current face or something. I don't know, but then the TARDIS shows the Doctor all of his past incarnations, his past selves, and yeah, complimenting on that, he is the Doctor, and just the good-looking one, just like how he puts at it. And out of nowhere, another incarnation of the Doctor appears in the TARDIS, and that being the 13th incarnation. Jodie Whittaker's back. Yeah, yep. What a surprise to see Jodie Whittaker, and I think her making an appearance / a comeback was well-deserved because, I know I've probably stated this before where, Jodie Whittaker was, her and the cast of that era of Doctor Who, it wasn't their faults. They were pretty good. They did the best they could, and they could have been really good, especially the 13th Doctor. It's just the writing. That was the problem. You know this, and I just thought I'd mention it, yeah. But yeah, so to see Jodie Whittaker come back as the 13th Doctor, and why she's present, well, and to the 15th incarnations, he's glad it's not, say, the other incarnation that has kept appearing, and obviously referring to David Tennant, yeah. And the 13th incarnation, noticing, of course, yeah, the TARDIS being redecorated, she doesn't like it. The Doctor never does. Well, the 13th Doctor telling the 15th incarnation that, that he's gonna screw this up, with what he's about to do. And she's not here to stop him. She's here to help him to properly do this, to what to specifically do to make his sacrifice. Because if he doesn't get this right, he's going to rip apart the universe. But yeah, so it's a good thing that an incarnation of the Doctor, a past incarnation, is here to help. So yeah. The interactions that I keep saying 14th. 15th Doctor, sorry, the 15th and 13th incarnations have with each other. Even the 15th incarnation accidentally giving a spoiler to the 13th Doctor about bi-generation. And also, them bringing up Jinx, timey-wimey. It's still a thing, yeah. So, in the end, and ultimately, the 13th Doctor helps out with what the 15th Doctor needs to specifically do, and yeah. And also, because, right before the 13th Doctor has to go back to her timeline, well, the 15th incarnation saying that, I love you, Doctor, and so on, and the 13th Doctor a bit surprised. I've never said anything like that. I should probably say that to Yaz. Yeah, nice mentioning to Yasmin. If you know, you know. And, well, even the 15th incarnation addressing to the 13th that Yasmin knows. But yeah, goodbye, Doctor. Goodbye, Doctor. Yeah, so the 13th Doctor disembarks, and, yep. Bye for now, Jodie. So yeah. So after that, the 15th Doctor proceeds with his ultimate sacrifice, starting up the regeneration, and yeah. And right after he does that, well, he then finds himself awakened outside in this backyard. And it just so happens to be the house of Belinda's. And it turns out that Poppy had survived. Yep, all is back to normal. And, well, apparently, because, the last, according to Belinda, the Doctor came back right after they had defeated Ronnie. So, yeah, that's where the Doctor finds himself at. And, well, we do find out that all that time during Season 2, Belinda was so desperate to get back home. And with her wanting to get back on the 24th of May because of Poppy. That explains it. And that's something that not just us, the audience, but I guess the Doctor did not remember Belinda saying. Yeah, because not once in Season 2 until now was it ever mentioned that, Belinda had to get back home to Poppy. Because, yeah, Belinda already had a daughter, so yeah. And also, it's very cute that Belinda, has the Doctor be referred to as Uncle Doctor, yeah. And, well, we learn who the father is, a guy by the name of Richie, and Richie was also mentioned by Belinda, but we didn't know it, and I presume the Doctor didn't. And also, one more appearance of Belinda's mother. She comes in and, yeah, meets with the Doctor and Belinda, telling her mother that he's one of the doctors at the hospital. And it's pretty funny with some of the dialogue that Belinda's mother has, but yeah. But yeah, just with some of the dialogue that Belinda and the Doctor have, and then when the Doctor has a moment with Poppy, telling Poppy a secret that, he could never have kids. And then, the Doctor and Belinda saying their goodbyes. And even, say, the Doctor mentioning to Belinda that, one day they may see each other again. And when, say, Poppy gets older, then, maybe possibly because they can go on an adventure with the Doctor. Belinda wanting to see Neptune. Yeah. And, the Doctor mentioning that maybe the next time they see each other, he won't look like this. She doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, because she doesn't know about something else about the Time Lords, regeneration. Yeah, she doesn't know that, at least for now. But yeah, it's a very emotional goodbye. It never fails when it comes to the Doctor and any companion of his where they say their goodbyes. Yeah. And after that, the Doctor in space, and yeah, because the generation was almost about to begin, but, he had to stop it, before he would say goodbye to Belinda, But now, yes, the regeneration is about to begin, the Doctor making his way outside of the TARDIS in space, and I guess apparently we get technically a cameo of Joy, because, the Christmas special, Joy to the World, the character of Joy became a star. I presume that's the star of Joy, probably, because, the Doctor's saying joy to the world. And the Doctor, one of his final words being, an absolute joy, and it's a good thing, because this time, he's regenerating outside of the TARDIS, because at least twice, when he regenerated inside of the TARDIS, it caused the inside of the TARDIS to be damaged. But this time, very smart of him to do it outside. But, a couple of other times where he would regenerate inside the TARDIS, it didn't blow up the TARDIS. I can remember, say, when the 9th incarnation regenerated into the 10th, or, the 11th to the 12th. You get what I'm saying? That didn't happen where it caused the TARDIS to be damaged, but, I'm just saying. I'm pointing out facts about that, because it's true. Anyway, so after Ncuti Gatwa's final, triumphant last line, an absolute joy, and a huge regeneration explosion happens, and, well, by seeing who the next incarnation of the Doctor it is, the 16th incarnation, surprise, surprise, it's Billie Piper. Yeah, Billie Piper. This I was delighted to see. And you know what? I think this is acceptable. Think about it. And I am going to go into detail on this, but just seeing the 15th incarnation regenerate to the 16th, and boom, it's the face of Rose Tyler, Billie Piper. And, well, it seems like the Doctor is delighted to have that face, and, Billie Piper getting her first line, hello, she's delighted. And with the credits rolling, Ncuti Gatwa's the Doctor, Jodie Whittaker is the Doctor, and introducing Billie Piper. However, it doesn't say as the Doctor. Wonder what's that about. But we presume that, Piper is to be the 16th incarnation, right? But so, again, I think that Billie Piper, presumably being the 16th incarnation of the Doctor, is very acceptable. Think about it, and this is where I'm going to explain this. If any of you seem to recall, any of you hardcore Whovians, as of now, even right before this, where this happened twice, where the Doctor would regenerate to two faces that he once encountered. This started with Peter Davison as the fifth incarnation, where there was one episode during the time and era of the Fifth Doctor where there was one character played by Colin Baker who was the antagonist. So Colin Baker had already been on Doctor Who before he would become the 6th incarnation. So I guess we can presume that when the Fifth Doctor regenerated into the 6th incarnation, the regeneration just chose that face that the Doctor came face to face with. Just randomly chose that face, I presume. But it wasn't until the 12th incarnation stepped in, and something about the face that he has, it's like, he's trying to tell himself something. And that's when it occurs to him at some point that he knows why he got that face, why this face was chosen, and being the face of his 12th incarnation, to remind him that he's the Doctor and he saves people. Because this being a callback to one episode during the era of the 10th incarnation, David Tennant, where, one episode I think is around the Roman times, where, Peter Capaldi appeared in that episode, and thus, that face that the Doctor encountered, that he saved, it was chosen to be the face of his 12th incarnation. So, as for the 15th incarnation, going from the 15th to the 16th incarnation, and that being the face of Rose Tyler, well, obviously, a good reason for that. Because, well, Rose Tyler being one of those companions that the Doctor loved so much, and a face that he would always remember. If you think about it, and you know what I'm talking about, because, yeah, Rose was a huge part of the Doctor's life, and, how devastating it was when they were separated from one another, never to see each other again, and, yeah, just, overall, Rose Tyler being a face that the Doctor would always remember so fondly, and Rose would have a very special place in his two hearts. When you think about it, it makes sense. So it's understandable that, yeah, with the 16th incarnation of the Doctor having the face of Rose Tyler, a face that he remembered so fondly of, and so on. You get my point. That makes sense, and it's so good. At least in my opinion. And maybe you guys would think so too. Yeah. So I just had to mention it because, yeah. And for those of you to know this too, if it didn't occur to you as of now, just like, you're right, Eli, just like, but anyways, but yeah, and like I said, like, it was great to see that for a season finale of Doctor Who, in a long time, we would see the Doctor regenerate. Yeah, not in a Doctor Who Christmas special or anything. This happened in a season finale. Good to see. Yep, and again, great to see that, presumably, the 16th incarnation of the Doctor is Billie Piper herself. Yeah, can't wait for that. So yeah, great way to end off the 8th and last episode of Season 2 of Doctor Who. Yeah, so The Reality of War, the 8th and final episode of Season 2, it was no disappointment, at least in my opinion. I thought that what the last episode of Season 2 had to offer, and this being the final episode/adventure with the 15th incarnation, did pretty well, and where the Doctor encountered more old familiar faces, like, most notably the Ronnie and Omega, and some more returning faces that come back, Anita stepping in and being a big help with the Doctor, and when we find out that, Belinda has a daughter, and when we think at first that it's the child of both the Doctor and Belinda, but it's not. Everything that goes on in this episode, and with these characters coming together, and some funny, emotional moments, and with the Doctor regenerating, Jodie Whittaker's appearance as the 13th incarnation, so much that happens in the 8th and final episode was really good. Yeah. So, yeah, just overall, the last two episodes of Season 2, episodes 7 and 8, they were pretty good. The two-part finale of Season 2, and again, just Season 2 being the last season for Ncuti Gatwa. It's a shame because I think we were all expecting that maybe he would do maybe at least one more season, because usually, we would get 3 seasons of the Doctor, an incarnation and such, but I mean, this isn't the first time that something like this has happened. I mean, most notably because, say, we only got 1 season of the 9th incarnation, Christopher Eccleston, so yeah, there was that. But, no, because with the main storyline of Doctor Who, nope, because we as of now have only gotten 2 seasons of the 15th incarnation, Ncuti Gatwa. And by the way, because I did see this, I also feel like mentioning this, one more thing where, yeah, seeing a farewell note from Ncuti Gatwa, I saw it and I read it, and I think his farewell note was pretty well good. It was pretty well written by him. Just, yeah, he had a great time being a part of Doctor Who, and, yep, with having him depart, yeah. He was definitely, in my opinion, and if you guys feel the same way too, he was a pretty good incarnation of the Doctor. Being the 15th incarnation, he will be missed, but there's no doubt that we will see him down the road and whatever happens when we see, because, because we would see some past incarnations of the Doctor make an appearance and such, and yeah, surely, because it's gonna happen for Ncuti Gatwa. You get my point, just, yeah. But again, the last 2 episodes of Season 2, they were pretty good. I enjoyed them. And yeah, Season 2 itself, it was okay. I mean, it was not that bad from what I expected. And yeah, some good episodes here and there, and I respect and understand everyone's opinions on how they felt on Season 2. I do. But I'm just saying, I'm entitled to my opinion, and I enjoyed Season 2. And I'm giving Season 2 of Doctor Who, yeah, that sounds about right. 8 out of 10 stars. Yes, 8 out of 10 stars for Season 2 of Doctor Who on Disney+. And what about you guys? What did you think of Season 2 of Doctor Who? Any of you that are on the same level as me, you know, where you have been enjoying this new era of Doctor Who, and seeing as how that, yeah, this is the last season we get of Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th incarnation. Yeah, and with what goes on in the last 2 episodes, the triumphant return of Ronnie, some familiar faces that come back, and with the appearance of Jodie Whittaker, the surprising twists, and so on, and when the Doctor regenerates into Billie Piper, what did you think of that? Are you looking forward to that? And, you know, do you think it makes sense now with what I've had to share that, yeah, the regeneration choosing that face for the Doctor, which being the face of Rose Tyler, yeah. And are you excited for what is to come next in the next season/adventure of Doctor Who? Yeah. But just overall, what did you think, I should say, what did you think of Season 2 itself, the second and last season, where we have Ncuti Gatwa's the 15th Doctor, and with what all I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review, my third and final part review of Season 2 of Doctor Who? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review from parts 1, 2, and 3 of Season 2 of Doctor Who. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I will see you guys in the next video /review. Take care, and until the next season of Doctor Who, and yep, because we're getting Billie Piper as the 16th incarnation, look forward to that. Peace out. And I'll see